The e-GMP platform currently underpins pretty much all of the electric vehicles made under the Hyundai, Genesis, Kia nameplates.
Each of those companies chooses a different market segment to target. You've got Kia, which mainly goes for the younger, more hip and happening people.
Then you've got the Hyundai variant, which is a little bit more pinky in the air, more aimed towards middle managers with a decent income.
And then, of course, you have Genesis, who target those who worship the great orb. Buy a Tesla.
Sorry, I was performing my
Devotions?
sacred devotions. Yes. Anyway, today we are driving the IONIQ9, which is basically an EV9, which we both really loved, but with a little bit more Formica thrown in. Don't worry, we'll explain everything. I think the first thing we need to kind of deal with here, Kate, is that this is marketed as a luxury vehicle.
Oh, is it luxury?
It is luxury.
Okay.
And Hyundai on its website, if you look at the IONIQ9 Calligraphy Edition, which is what this is, Hyundai goes to great lengths to compare this, interestingly, to the Rivian R1S and also the Tesla Model Y and X, and adds all of the things that this vehicle has as standard that those two competitors don't. And from a price point of view, this is up there. Like, this is 79 and change, I think. If you buy it in this particular configuration, you can get versions of the IONIQ9 that cost less, but depending on the option boxes you tick, you are talking about high-end premium vehicles. And that's something that Hyundai wants you to think when you sit in this car, is high-end premium. But I want to ask you, Kate, without knowing a whole lot about this vehicle, because you're driving it for the first time today, what do you feel when you sit in this car?
Like, when I first opened the door, my first comment was, well, where's the orb? Because it does remind me of the Genesis and its glowing orb.
That would be the GV60, right?
Yeah, but it isn't. It's still a Hyundai, and that's not a bad thing. Like, Hyundai make good vehicles, but the point of having the Genesis brand as part of that family is to have a luxury mark, and this doesn't quite hit the spot for me.
This is basically the twin to the Kia EV9. And the Kia EV9 had a very well-appointed cabin. I want to be clear, it didn't feel cheap or budget. Somehow this does. I want to draw your attention to this center console here. Now, you can have it in one of 10 different positions, which is
very
nice.
nice.
It is incredibly nice. But it has this weird, and the key has it too, this weird finish on it that isn't particularly durable. And I know it's something we criticized the EV6 for as well. It had that same, let's see if I can find the key, I think it's in my pocket. It's got this weird kind of almost 1990s tackiness to it.
Yeah, it's got that kind of silvery sheen that you expect on a 1990s remote control.
The fact that this car has less than 1,000 miles on it, and it's already got scratches.
More than 1,000 now.
It's more than 1,000. It's 1,383. It's not
Yeah.
quite leet yet.
No,
But in fact, it has gone past the leet point.
it has.
It has gone past leet mileage. But this interior it gives me concerns about durability.
And that actually is a complaint that I've heard levelled against all the IONIQ family. I know people who've owned IONIQ 5s and felt like the interior durability was not quite what it should be on the higher trim models. Interestingly, not so much on the lower trim models a complaint, but that's probably because the materials are cheaper. And, you know, like I have scrapes on the inside of my car because it's got cheaper materials, and I'm like,
If we're going deep into this, the choice of this silver is just completely misplaced. I understand why Hyundai chose to do it. It's a lighter, brighter interior, and that tends to be more favoured for higher end vehicles. But if you look right here on the kind of the rest area in front of the touchscreen, there are fingerprint grease marks.
I mean, I have to give them kudos. It isn't piano black, and that
True.
does make me happier. But yeah, it's disappointing to see that whatever they've used to generate this silver finish is about as absorbent as you'd expect for a 1990s CRT TV.
So let's talk about that 1990s theme. I know we talked about it with the IONIQ 6, and we loved it in the IONIQ 6 because it felt like a 90s themed sedan. Here it feels a little bit out of place. But there is more 90s styling, and I draw your attention to the kitchen cabinetry in front of me.
You mean the Formica worktop?
The faux marble.
The faux marble, yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting choice.
Do you know what this reminds me of? And if you are a regular to the channel, you will potentially find this very amusing. It reminds me of that wonderful place we stayed at last September when we went to Everything Electric.
Oh, the horror. I try and block that place from my mind.
But it does. It's that 90s kind of massive McMansion on a budget feel.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It does remind me of, and here you can tell I'm British, but a B&Q kitchen counter.
Yeah, it does. Broken and quaint.
Yeah.
I love the area in front of the dash. I love the fact that there is an open floor and that you can move this center console fore and aft so you can get some extra space. It does mean if you park somewhere where you park a little bit close on the driver's side, you can actually easily exit the vehicle on this side. I did that earlier this week. I would love if you could remove this center console completely, which is of course something you can do with the Volkswagen ID Buzz, but you can't do that in this car because it's got these buttons here that give you access to the various drive modes. We'll talk about those drive modes a little bit later in the review, but I also noticed it's got a fingerprint scanner, which kind of alludes again to the Genesis vibe.
It does. And the other thing I think we should say about this zone is that, yes, it doesn't have discrete buttons for a lot of functions. It does have some. It has a little set of 8 buttons here, but it does have dedicated controls for the climate.
And very nicely done.
And very nicely done. Like, if I have to have a touchscreen, which apparently I do now, then this is a pretty good solution because the buttons stay more or less where they are. They just change slightly when you choose between whether you're controlling the front climate or the rear climate when some of the options disappear.
And that's much better than the original IONIQ family of vehicles with their control system. You've also got not 1, not 2, but 3 USB-C sockets up front. Only 2 of them are for charging. Mm-hmm. You have inductive Qi charging here, which fits your phone just about fits my phone in its case, but anything bigger, you're not going to have any luck
the next generation of phones, when they're, another ½ inch bigger diagonally, you're going to be out of luck.
You're going to be out of luck. And I think that's one of the reasons why I prefer kind of the flat tray as opposed to the recessed tray setup. You've also got a lovely area underneath the USB sockets and the 12-volt accessory socket, which is rated to 180 watts, which is not bad for 12 volts. You've got 2 little cubby holes for storing things, and you've got a moderately sized glove box here with a very fancy release mechanism. It's all kind of fairly soft close, quiet, well insulated vibe. And then moving to the doors, You've got this kind of very plasticky trim here. It's soft. It's not completely unpleasant.
It's a leather look, but not a leather feel, which is an interesting decision.
And then it's got this perforated section here, which I think is just going to be a dirt magnet.
I think it's going to end up with lots of stuff stuck in it, which is me being practical and not treating the car as a luxury object again.
Yeah. Let's give Hyundai kudos for actually having physical door buttons here, which is nice.
Yeah, a physical door release, always a fan.
The exterior door handles, of course, retract into the body of the vehicle when you're driving. So they come out to give you access to the vehicle. I wonder how easy that's going to be in the winter. We know that that's been a problem in certain climates for certain vehicles.
But I will say
it's middle of the summer here, so we can't tell.
Yeah, and I will say, though, that they pop out properly. They're not the kind of ones where you're sort of scrabbling to get the very end of it, and that's the only way you can grab it. They are actually fully fledged handles. Mm-hmm. So that's, I'm more of a fan of that, but not, I still actually would prefer them to be real handles.
Yes. The other thing I think that's worth noting, though, is again, this same kind of silvery effect. And the round handles, which seem to work well in the IONIQ 6, but seem completely at odds with the car's boxy exterior design, which I'm not a big fan of anyway.
Yeah, it's a design which I think is an acquired taste, and I have not acquired it.
I see where the design was going, but it's a little too brutalist for my tastes. And there are hints here and there. If you look at the rear, right, if you look at the rear of the vehicle, it's got a hint of Volvo station wagon at the rear.
It does.
Just a little soupçon of something Swedish, but it doesn't actually follow through. And then it has those weird kind of shapes above the wheel arches that don't seem to tie into anything. And it's almost as if someone said, let's make a box more stylish, and they ran out of ideas on the way. I like the layout of the car. I like the layout of the dash. I like the clearness of the buttons and the controls. There's nothing about the control surfaces in this car I dislike. I like the fact that you even have access to the massaging seat button on the driver's door there.
So that you can never press it.
So you can never press it. By the way, as a side, this car will randomly turn on the stress-relieving seat massage function, or at least it did with me while I was filming rollers. Now, for those who don't know, when you film rolling shots or chase shots, whatever you want to call them, you have to be kind of close to the camera truck. And I'm driving with precision behind the camera truck, and suddenly my back and my bottom start vibrating. That is not a feeling that I want. I'd like to choose when those things happen.
To be fair, you can choose. It is in the menu. You have to go through and disable the please keep me awake function, which is a massagey seat moving function that it will automatically turn on after, I think it's an hour. I think it's
that
default.
Sounds about right.
But you can turn it off. You can, Nikki, you do not have to be unconsensually massaged by the vehicle, I promise.
This particular variant of the IONIQ 9 is a 6-seater as opposed to a 7-seater.
And it comes with the optional foot amputation.
Right, so you've got captain's chairs in the first 2 rows, and they all have massive amounts of adjustment. Up, down, side. You can adjust the cushion bolster here, so you can have the seat grip you a little more.
If
you fancy some sporty driving.
Automatically do that when you engage the sporty driving mode.
Yeah,
you set that function.
And I was going right there for that. But the other thing it's got is these seat leg bolsters that you can kind of pop out to give you some leg bolstering here. Now I'm moving it up. Obviously you can't do this while you're driving, it doesn't let you.
Yeah, very disappointing.
Now the front row seats, there is a limit to how much you can put this up. The second row, you can move this up more, but there's a problem with that, isn't there, Kate?
Yes, unless you're 4 foot tall, then your feet are trapped under the seat in front of you. And it doesn't matter how far forwards. Like, I am not the tallest human, so I have the seat fairly far forwards. In fact, I have been criticised by some members on the team for my driving position. But
not me.
Mainly because they can't get in. But even with the seat that far forwards, I sat in the second row and tried to elevate the foot bolster and found that my feet were slowly being amputated, which I'm not sure that was really what they were going for. And I also don't really understand what function that serves unless you want your fairly short kids to be able to sit there.
Yeah, I mean,
with their feet elevated.
This car has got power adjustable everything. So the Volvo that we drove a couple of weeks ago, it had the child punishment button that you could use to fold the rear seats down. This has got power adjustable. Every single seat is power adjustable, including the third row, and it's power adjustable for backrest and also for position. Now, interestingly, all of that comes at a bit of a cost, namely that if anything goes wrong with those seats, it's going to be a very expensive repair.
I want to say this in a polite way. Hyundai Kia Genesis are very good at engineering to a price. Very good. In a way that actually I don't think many other automakers that sell in the US are as good at doing. And they're very good at doing it in a way that does not reveal itself to you immediately. But I will say, having owned my Niro, which is obviously a Kia vehicle, I have noticed that at 5 years old, it is starting to inform me that it is actually 6 years old, that it is 6 years old, and that some of these components were in fact engineered for a lifespan of 8 years, which is the warranty period.
Yep.
And what happens after those 8 years is a question.
I want to talk about visibility on this car. It's not the best. It's not the worst. There is a bit of a big old blind spot right at the rear. I feel like it's not quite as clear to see out of as the EV9 was, and I'm trying to square that in my head because the EV9 is basically this car.
Well, but they have quite different body, like subtle tweaks to the body shape and the window shape. So
Right.
So, you know, you're not going to have exactly the same. I will say, kudos to them. Their mirror actually works. I can use both modes. I don't like the camera mode, but I can have it set to camera and then flick it to mirror and still see out the back.
Right. And the nice thing about this is being based on the e-GMP platform, you do get the paddle shift as a standard, so you have some control over regenerative braking. You don't necessarily have a regen on demand, but you have one pedal.
Yeah, and it's a good one pedal.
Which is very good, and it seems to persist. I'm not entirely sure how you can get it to default into the one pedal, but you can definitely have a pretty strong regen braking on liftoff. Let's talk about the modes that you have. Now, interestingly, the button for selecting the mode is down here on that center console, and you can press it to activate any number of different modes.
Yeah.
You have Eco, you have Sport, and then you have a custom mode called My Drive where you can configure exactly how you want it to behave. Because it's an e-GMP based platform, one of the motors will deactivate if it's not needed, and that gives you a little bit more range and capability. This car has a truly phenomenal range. I mean, it's a 110 kilowatt hour battery pack, which is frankly massive.
It is, and it's a large vehicle, and they want it to be a vehicle that you can road trip in. I would assume it has the e-GMP charging, so you're going to have
it does and
solid rapid charging experience.
It has NACS. NACS is standard. When you buy it, you get a whole
small cacophony of
adapters. So you get a NACS based portable charging cable, at least this one has. There is a NACS to CCS and a NACS to J1772.
We have
adapter.
a whole video explaining that if you're not sure about this.
And, you know, that 110 kilowatt hour battery pack doesn't make the car feel heavy, interestingly, because the power delivery is matched. So I can hoof it and it feels pretty good. I can also put the brakes on and it's smooth and refined in its delivery process.
It is, and I will say that I tried an emergency stop earlier today. So when we say this is the first time I've driven this vehicle, it's actually the second, because I arrived early enough to take it out for a little spin before we started filming. And I put it through its paces, did a quick emergency stop just to see how it handled, and it did so well. It handled the weight well, it came to a stop in a nice straight line, no squirreling about, no trying to wander into traffic, nothing that would suggest its weight. And 110 kilowatt hours is large to me,
Right.
but for the class of vehicle, the size of vehicle, I don't think it's particularly out there.
I mean, as a point of note here, on paper, I think it's 350 miles or thereabouts, depending on the market you're in. I have seen this car predict over 400 miles of range. And I have absolutely no doubt that it would be possible if you were driving it at sensible speeds. It's got massive 21-inch wheels, but unlike all of the other vehicles we've criticized recently with massive wheels, they feel appropriate for this vehicle.
I think because the passenger cabin on it is very large, and the way that the e-GMP platform allows for layout, you can get away with it. I also think the packaging under the hood is more efficient than we've seen from some other automakers, which allows them to shunt the wheels a little bit further forwards. It doesn't feel as compromised by those big wheels as some of the other vehicles that we've looked at.
Of course, being an e-GMP based vehicle, you also get this wonderful feature, the camera indicator thing, which I love. I think all cars should have that blind spot camera feature. It's a standard thing on all of the IONIQ family of EVs. The dashboard is clear and easy to read. There's a head-up display that is clear and easy to read. Of course, if you are wearing polarizing sunglasses, you have to kind of have your head at a funny angle.
Yeah, you have to tilt to see. But yeah, that display is one of the nice features of the e-GMP platform. I think when it first originated, it was a little bit less customizable than it is now, and now I feel like they've pretty much got to a sweet spot where you can access the stuff you need to. Setup is still like a bit menu heavy, but if you're going to use it, you're going to use it and find it comfortable.
Yeah, and over-the-air updates, you've got the ability to have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. There's a lot of sensor tech on this car. So you've got all of your forward collision assist, you've got your side impact assist. There's a safety exit feature. So if you open the rear doors and there's a car coming, it will warn you, which is great if you are someone who's going to be using this for doing the school run. Obviously, we've got the panoramic glass roof here. It does have a proper shade, which is lovely. The fact that this has got air conditioning all the way through is lovely. Even the rear seats get it. I should throw in a fact that, like the EV9, the rear seat space is very good for a 3-row SUV. It has the driver assistance, level 2 driver assistance, autonomous capability with lane change assist, which is nice. It has the same bug as the rest of the Kia family. You can take your hands off the wheel for an extended period of time, and then after about 3 minutes it goes, "Oi, I don't feel your hands on the wheel." So there's that. It's not fully hands off, but I think there are enough suites of sensors in this vehicle to make that possible further down the line. I think that's where Hyundai and Kia are going with this. We cannot talk about this car without talking about the current problem with the whole of Hyundai Kia vehicles right now, with the power module failing. I know it's a big issue right now with a lot of people, and they've got like their cars being left stranded. Technology Connections did a video on it recently. So yes, There are some potentials. I don't know if the IONIQ 9 is involved with it, but I would want to see some evidence that it uses completely different and upgraded parts, especially as it is based on the same e-GMP platform. So what do we have here is we have a really technologically capable car. It's got a nice audio system.
I dwell on my pursuits, and when the pistol shoots, I laugh while I cry. Between these arrow roads, the stars will never fall.
It has some questionable interior choices. It also has some questionable issues when it comes to whether you can actually use this long term and have it be durable. But I would also add here that the AI assistant on this is weird, right? So it has a ChatGPT-esque, I don't think it is ChatGPT, but if you press this button you can ask the car things. And a lot of cars with voice assistants allow you to set the temperature to a temperature in either Celsius or Fahrenheit. So if I press this button and ask it to set it to for example, 22 degrees Celsius, it will set the temperature to cold because it will interpret that as 22 degrees Fahrenheit. Do you know how to get around it?
I do, but only because you told me, because I tried a few different things.
So you have to press the button and then you have to tell the car to set it to the Fahrenheit equivalent of whatever the Celsius temperature is. Now, obviously, if you live in this car, you'll set it to your preferred units. This car has got, phone as a key and all of that good stuff that's now pretty much standard across all of these vehicles. But if you are someone who constantly shares a vehicle with someone who prefers a different temperature unit to you, being able to ask the car to change the temperature to a setting in Celsius when the car is set up for Fahrenheit is quite useful. You have to tell it to set the temperature to the Celsius equivalent, the Fahrenheit equivalent of the number, or vice versa, which is just ridiculous. So we've driven the IONIQ 9 and there's a lot to like about this car and a lot to not like about it. For example, when it comes to the not liking, not a fan of this big block here and this kind of see-through front end, which yes, hides a bunch of sensors, which keeps you safe on the road and makes a path for more autonomous driving in the future. I do like the fact that we've got these active air dams at the front, which helps make the car more efficient. I'm not super enamored by this, but it does remind me of a 1970s hi-fi system.
You want a VU meter?
Yeah, I do. I want to hack it. So I'm driving along and it changes from green to red, depending on how fast I'm going.
That won't be distracting at all to anyone else on the road.
I do not like this matte finish.
I do not, but I do like that this is short and it's like a snub-nosed little thing, because if you're gonna have a giant vehicle, at least have a platform that's packaged well enough that the front end isn't a week's walk from the door.
I like that there's a decent amount of luggage space in the rear, that you can fold those second row seats flat, you can fold the third row seats flat. There are buttons in the rear of the vehicle that allow you to electronically fold all of the seats down, which is it's a party trick, right? You do it one or two times and then you just want to be able to pull a button and have it go thunk, because actually the manual release sprung seat backs are going to fold far more quickly than this. It's like any number of comedy shows where you wait for the electronically adjustable seat to get to the right position. You have to press a button to gain access to the third row. So if you're picking someone up, right, or you're dropping someone off and they're in the third row, you have to press a button and just wait for the seat to gradually move forwards.
Or you can do what I did, which is to breathe in through my thighs and just slip between the seats, which does
works
work.
if you're small enough.
Yeah, yeah.
But imagine doing this on a cold, wet day. You've got a car full of kids and you're doing the school run.
Yeah, it sounds less fun.
Right. Combine that with
Also, they're just going to clamber over the seats with their dirty trainers on and leave footprints on the white trim. But, you know, that's...
We actually were talking about this as a team before we filmed, and we were joking about how long we thought this car would take before it breaks, before those seats break.
It'd be more than 8 years. You'll get 8 years. Well, actually, no, the interior warranty is, I think, 5. So 5 years.
I really... I have a problem with electronically adjustable for electronically adjustable sake when a manual adjustment would do. And while I can see the benefit of having electronically adjustable front seats, especially if you have two differently sized drivers with completely different driving positions, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially if you attach it to their key so that when they get behind the wheel, the car knows it's them and automatically sets the seat appropriately. That's what my truck does. But having electronically adjustable second and third row seats feels like it's an accident waiting to happen. And it's also got that weird passenger seat thing that you can move the front seat forwards.
I mean, if you have someone childish in the driver's seat who presses it while you're trying to get, say, settled for a drive, that would be really irritating, wouldn't it? You wouldn't want that to happen.
Yeah, you wouldn't want that to happen. But look, it's a cool car. It's got luggage rails. It's got plenty of towing capacity. What, £3,500?
£5,000 in this trim, £3,500 in the rear-wheel drive.
Right, and with the all-wheel drive, you've got plenty of power. 315 kilowatts for the all-wheel drive version, which is what, 422 horses. 700 plus pound-feet of torque.
Yeah.
It's not a bad vehicle, but I am struggling to find its place in the market.
I think the challenge here is you've got the Rivian R1S, you've got the EV9,
got Tesla Model X, you've got Tesla Model Y.
And this is competing with them. And what does it give you that different ones of that range will not? If I had to own a full-size SUV, then the EV9 would be it.
It had plenty of beans, it had plenty of power, it had plenty of torque, it had plenty of tech, it had plenty of goodness to send your way.
And it had an interior that it's durable enough.
And to be clear, you can get darker trim inside for this car.
But it's also the feel of that trim. It's like the little fingerprints across the dash.
Yeah. And it feels like Kia came out with the EV9 and then Hyundai went, well, we have to make our version of that better, extra. So they took an EV9 and then they struggled to make it into the IONIQ 9. And I don't want to be that person, but I seem to remember we had a similar reaction between the EV6 and the IONIQ 5. We had that same reaction to it. And that's how I feel about this. It's competent. Yes, it's a Hyundai. It's built like a Hyundai. But if I had to choose between this and the EV9, every day, all day. But if I had to really choose a 3-row electric people carrier and range wasn't important, I'd go with the ID Buzz.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about where this would fit in with Genesis. Because right now, Genesis doesn't make this.
Which is perhaps why Hyundai is making it.
I mean, I think Genesis could make this.
Oh, yeah.
They've hinted that there is a Genesis variant coming, which will be even more extra.
Will it have an orb?
Maybe it will. But look, horses for courses. If you are spending this much money on a 3-row SUV, are you really going to expect the quality of the interior that this has, or are you going to expect more? And if you're willing to pay extra for the extra, which you would have to do if you went with a Genesis, would you just not go one step further and go with a Merc?
I mean, for me, probably, but
Or,
then I
or
don't
the
have that much
iX,
money.
or the
Yeah.
or the iX.
I mean, I am not, as we would say, flush with cash, and the idea of spending that much on a depreciating asset does not personally appeal to me. But if I had the kind of money where that was, whatever, then I would go with the Merc.
I mean, look, this does have the vehicle to grid, vehicle to load, which is great. And therefore you can argue that this is a 110 kilowatt hour battery pack for your house with an added car thrown in. That's kind of how I justified buying the truck, right?
It is.
It's a backup battery solution that also happens to have wheels.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care how many Tesla Powerwalls people say you can buy for that much money, you can't buy that kind of capacity and have a car at the same time. It's just, it doesn't compute.
No, but then I think one of the things that springs to mind here when you're talking about that is that, yeah, this has vehicle to home and vehicle to load, and that's great, and I'm a big fan of that. But I think that actually that matters more at our segment of the market than it does at this segment of the market, where if they want it, they're going to put a massive battery on their massive solar array and not worry about the fact that you can do it with your car because, well, it's slightly inconvenient that you have to unplug your car and it turns off your house in that situation.
Right.
Or at least your butler does. And
Oh, no, come now. Somebody recently criticised us for being disparaging of people with money and success. And I want to be clear that this is a little tongue-in-cheek, but I get where you're coming from.
yeah,
I also think that this is a car that's not a conquest car.
no.
I don't think people are going to go from a Model Y or a Model X to this. I don't think people are going to go from another large SUV to this and go, this is my pinnacle. I think if you are interested in the driving characteristics, you would probably go with the EV9 GT if you needed this space. If you want to go with the charging characteristics, maybe you would go for the Hyundai. But this is a car for someone who needs to put a good impression and a good foot forwards to show, look, I've got a fancy car with a fancy interior, and for it to look good from a distance, like those Formica cabinets, you know? If you get up close and you look at them and you go, oh. But from across the great hall or the great kitchen or whatever they used to call it, the open, when we had those big open plan houses, it looks fantastic. It's that wow factor as you walk in, which is what this has.
So what you're saying is lease it, don't buy it?
Yeah, which is rare.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us today, and if you've got thoughts, make sure you leave them in our Discord chat room, on our Patreon page down below, or you can reach out to us on Mastodon or Blue Sky, or in fact, now our new website. Thanks to the list of names scrolling by on your screen right now. They are part of the massive community of supporters who make this channel possible, helping us through Patreon and YouTube, covering our bills, paying our team, and helping us to remain 100% independent. If you'd like to join them and see your name listed here, just follow the links below. We've got options available across a range of different price points from $1.50 US a month. A massive welcome to our newest supporters, Michael Anders, Tim Lynch, Kyriakos, Keith Irvin, Eric Printer, Chip Chandler, Marek Korlowski, Thornelli, Jake Alper, Howard Robertson, Dan Bow, Rex Baker, Bob F, Mark Brooks, Norman Davidson, Jean Lim, Lee Goldberg, Joseph Jarvis, John Taylor, Yaya, Kira Bell, Jim Richard, Andrew Honeycutt, Lee W. Benjamin, and Hagdor. To join the list and get your shout out, become a paid Patreon member today for your moment of fame. And you can now even gift membership to someone else. If you'd like to support us with a one-off donation, you'll find links below to make Ko-fi and Bitcoin donations. And you can also send us a check through an old-fashioned PO box. There's a link to our website with the address below. Below, you'll also find links to our swag store, and if you are someone who has to shop on Amazon, please consider using our affiliate link so we get the commission, not Jeff Bezos. So we can continue to focus on making our content even better and reduce burnout, we are a little fresher these days with the days we release content, but we do plan on dropping new videos every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday on this channel, plus something on Sunday over on Transport Evolved Take 2. If you want to watch more from us, the algorithm that hates us thinks you should be watching this video, but this one is one that we think you will also enjoy. Be awesome, be kind, be intentional, and don't forget to resist. Keep evolving.